We are the Leafs Convo for Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. It is Sunday, March 7th, 2021. I'm Norm, along with Mike. Well, what do you know, Mr. Augello? The Leafs have lost 2 in a row, beat by the red-hot Canucks, who the Leafs really didn't have any answers for. 3-1 in the first game, 4-2 in the second game. Not a lot of goals against, but goals for. Not there right now. Good morning.
Good morning, Norm. I think John Tavares said it most accurately. They had a chance to make it a great road trip, and it ended up being a good road trip. Winning 3 in a row against Edmonton, who was chasing them for first place and putting them sort of in the rearview mirror, but then not taking advantage of an opportunity of playing against the Canucks without Elias Pettersson in the lineup for both games, running into a hot goaltender in Thatcher Demko, who played like he did in the bubble last year during the playoffs. And that being said, they were still in these games last night specifically, up 2-1 going into the third. A careless flip over the glass by William Nylander, and then a even more careless behind the back dipsy-do pass by Mitch Marner in the neutral zone that ended up in a 3-on-1 the other way. So,
Yep.
There was enough blame to go around. I mean, I'm sure Leaf fans are happy with the fact that, they're from first place, they're first overall in the NHL. But I think the fans that are always waiting for the other shoe to drop have evidence of, okay, not all is wonderful in the world of the Maple Leafs, and maybe there's a little bit of a room for concern, but it was a 5-game and 8-night road trip, and overall they got 6 of a possible 10 points.
Yeah, back to Toronto they come, a couple of days off. Sheldon Keefe will certainly make a point of the brain farts that his players are committing. You can do it now. You can't do it when the season is on the line. This is part of the ebbs and flow of a season, Mike, and I bring this up constantly, but I've played high-level sports, college sports, professional sports, and a lot of times you get caught up in the moment, but it's a series of moments, and the end goal is to put together enough victories and enough good play to come out on top. The Leafs are doing that. Save for the last couple of games, this is a really good team with a lot of great capabilities. And the opponent in Vancouver, a bit of a wounded animal when you consider their entire season and how shitty it's been. The Leafs were in line for something like this, and with the red hot offense needing an opportunity to cool down at some point, better now than later in the season as we approach the playoff.
Well, I think, again, there's not a great cause for concern, but like yesterday, and actually in the 2-game series, the Leafs penalty killing was not effective. They were 0 for 2 on the penalty kill yesterday, and that was essentially the difference in the game. The Besser goal in the first period and the Bo Horvat goal that tied it up midway through the third. I mean, obviously you need your penalty kill to be at a 85 to 90% kill rate to be able to be, I think a serious contender. But is it a blip? More than likely. And I think that you have to factor in the fact that they were probably exhausted. I mean, at least I thought that was the main reason for the loss on Thursday was, it was back-to-back. Hutchinson was in goal. I didn't think he was particularly strong, but he wasn't really to blame for the loss. A couple seeing eye goals. But, for a team that played almost letter perfect in the 3 games against Edmonton, it was sort of a come down from that to, being mere mortals against the Canucks, who, are not a good team defensively, but they played well defensively, and and Demko played really well.
Yeah, we're about the halfway point of this contracted season. So if the Leafs aim to be the best and there's great play ahead, then we'll get there. Winnipeg comes into Toronto on Tuesday. They were beaten pretty good by the Habs. So the Jets will be eager. Are you expecting the change of scenery to reignite the Matthews-Marner line? Because it has been cold since Matthews returned.
Yeah, things just have seemed a little off. I mean, Matthews, I mean, he's had a couple opportunities that missed corner that it was a wide open top corner against
Mm-hmm.
Demko in the game on Thursday that, he looked to the skies. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he would have hit that. It's just, I mean, that's the ebbs and flows of the season. For 1 week, you can't miss. The next week, you're missing things that you normally wouldn't. So, again, I don't think that's a cause for concern. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is, though, it's like you did see Tavares pick up when Marner was moved to his line, and now that's sort of continued because Tavares, I think, was arguably the best Leaf on the ice last night. And it seems that him and Nylander seem to have kicked things into gear,
Yep.
but now it's a question of getting everybody into gear.
Yeah, and it's certainly a process, but we're also seeing contributors score as well.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Vesey, I mean, I wish he could bottle the last week, 3 goals in 3 games after I think he had gone 17 or 18 without a point. So, and now you'd have to say that a factor there is he got moved to the fourth line and Jason Spezza, who's got, I think, 16 points. I mean, it's unbelievable how Spezza is playing on the fourth line. But so that sort of kick-started him. And I thought the third line of Mikheyev, Engvall, and Hyman, when Hyman was playing on that
Mm-hmm.
line, also played really well. But Sheldon Keefe decided to move Hyman up to other lines to jumpstart them because, especially the Matthews Marner pairing, it just seemed they needed that jumpstart, and Hyman arguably has been the most valuable player for this team all year.
Speaking of jump starts, what's the status of Wayne Simmons?
Well, if you take the 6 week diagnosis that occurred when he broke the wrist, he's about, I think, 4 weeks into it. So,
Mm-hmm.
Now I haven't heard anything about him being on the ice. So it sounds like it's going to be at least a couple weeks. They really don't have any cause to rush him back. I mean, obviously everybody wants him back because of the physicality he brings
Mm-hmm.
to the lineup. But I don't think they want to risk what happened with Jack Campbell to happen to Simmons, rush him back and then
Yeah.
re-injure himself. So, and, I think, Campbell, they need him in goal. He's 3-0. They need Anderson to play as a number one, but they need the backup to play, and especially a backup like Campbell, who's playing so well, to play his requisite amount of games, but they need him to be back 100% healthy. So I think they're going to take it a little careful this time around and make sure that he's 100% before he steps back in.
OG's converts, what do you think? Let us know below this post. Easy peasy, all part of the process, or is there cause for concern? We don't want to gin up anxiety, but we want to be realistic. We're roughly through the halfway period of this interesting little 56-game regular season. It's been a good first half. Are you expecting the same in the second half? Do you think it gets better? Do you think it gets worse? We want to know your thoughts below this post. You can also do that in community. Thanks for all the feedback on Mike and I's first endeavor into a face-to-face video convo. This isn't foreign to me. I've worked in television for 20 years, and Mike does these sorts of, hockey buzz webcasts and videos all the time. It's just for us, we've been audio focused, and we do know that many of you would like to see our beautiful faces. And we appreciate that because we still have something left to give. So we're going to be incorporating the face-to-face combos more, probably once a week, and then at some point it may supplant what you're hearing right now. But then again, I like the mixture of everything. It just comes down to content, right? If you like the content, you like what we're saying, dislike what we're saying, but you come back for more. That's the entire point. If you're on YouTube and you listen to us frequently, can you hit the subscribe button? It would mean a lot to us. Hit the like button. And you know what? I don't care if you don't like what we're saying. You can hit the thumbs down button as well. That's your prerogative, and at least you're having your say and you're interacting with what we do. Mike, before we go, and this is a very short convo, so I apologize to those who like to listen to the longer ones. We'll get at them in the future. Winnipeg for 3. So coming off the 2 losses to Vancouver, I'm looking at it like, it's just part of the business of professional hockey when you're mired in a season. But it could get bad pretty quickly if the Leafs don't get their shit together against a Jets team that wants to come into Toronto and do some damage.
Yeah, against the Jets team that they play 9 times.
Yeah.
So we're talking about
That familiarity,
9 times.
right, Mike? That familiarity, it's good on one hand because you get to understand the subtleties and the nuances and the idiosyncrasies of your opponent. If you're better than them, you can exploit them. But you see the same face over and over again. There's a habit to, pull off the gas a little bit or get a little bit exhausted with that same feel night in and night out.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, I think they had the best goaltending in the division with Connor Hellebuyck, the Vezina Trophy winner. And now, after the trade, they have a 1-2 punch up the middle that in Pierre-Luc Dubois and Mark Scheifele that can match up with Tavares and Matthews, where their weak spot is on the blue line. And, Kevin Cheveldayoff may address the blue line at the trade deadline. Just to just be quick on this. The interesting thing about the Leafs is, we continue to hear the top 6 forward rumor about them acquiring somebody before the deadline. And I think those are legitimate, but it's a question of how they can fit that type of player under the cap. If you look at Cap Friendly right now, they have like $130,000 in cap space going into the deadline, which is not sufficient to add anybody. So more than likely, it's going to end up being with some sort of creative accounting with Brandon Pridham, the capologist of the Leafs. And more than likely, I think if they do make any kind of acquisition, it's going to end up being something like they did last year with Vegas and Chicago. Now, Vegas got Robin Lehner from Chicago, but it was through Toronto, and Toronto retained salary in that deal and got a 5th-round pick for it. The Leafs may be in a situation where they're going to acquire somebody, and it's going to have to be through a third team with the third team retaining salary. It's complicated, but it happened last year. It's very possible it's going to happen this year. And with the number of teams in terms of sellers increasing, we saw in the last couple of weeks, Nashville is probably a seller. And yesterday, Elliot Friedman reported that basically Buffalo is open for business. That means a guy like Eric Stahl, who I keep pointing to as maybe a top 9 answer, who makes a little over $3 million, that could be somebody that they target. But we have over a month until that April 12th deadline.
Mathematical and financial entanglements be damned. Do the Leafs have to make a move to improve?
Yes, I do. I think they need to. I mean, you can always improve. And when you're close and when you're a contender, you don't leave things to chance. We've seen injuries so far. I mean, knock on wood, their defense has been relatively untouched. They've had 7 healthy defensemen, except for Muzzin breaking the facial bone in the last couple weeks. You don't know what's going to happen, especially after the deadline. If somebody goes down, then all of a sudden, Mikko Lehtinen in the lineup, and God forbid that Martin Marincin gets anywhere close to the NHL. So yeah, I think that there is room to improve, but the question is, how do they do that? And that will be a very interesting because I don't know how they do it, but I think they're going to have to.
And when those border doors open, you don't know what the hell you're going to get. So you better have all hands on deck, everybody ready to go, because that tournament is going to be wild.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say this: the report a couple days ago from Pierre LeBrun that if the border situation doesn't change in terms of it being opened or the 14-day quarantine, that the Leafs may have to play the 3rd round or the Stanley Cup final and play their home games in Buffalo, which, the Blue Jays played their regular season games in Buffalo. I mean, I would love it because I would love it because I'm here, but I mean, it gets to the point of, come on. it's you telling me that the Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup and not going to play any of their home games at Scotiabank Arena. I understand it's a pandemic. I understand that they don't want COVID-19 to spread, but
you have thousands of truck drivers entering each country every single day, back and forth, thousands, hundreds of thousands. What's the big deal if you have a couple of hockey teams doing the same? It's a lot of people think that there's something at work that is overblown, blah blah blah. Come on, it's a pandemic, we got to be smart about it. But geez, these are special circumstances. Don't you think these teams with millions of dollars and a focus on health and safety can figure something out? I mean, again, it comes down to the law. It comes down to what each country wants to do. But geez, the idea of these teams not able to come back to play in their home buildings during the playoffs makes me question the entire process. Why even bother doing it if it's going to be that Mickey Mouse? I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, I don't know. I would hope that things will loosen up as they get into May and June, but it's out there. I mean, and I didn't think it was a possibility the Blue Jays would play their games in Buffalo or the Raptors would play their games in Tampa this year. I thought by now things would be getting back to a sense of normalcy. We'll see. I have hope that, I will see Canada before the summer, and that the Leafs and whoever they play, if the Leafs do get to the conference final, that team will be able to cross the border and play at Scotiabank Arena. And, dare I say it, maybe in front of a couple thousand fans. Maybe I'm being a sunny optimist, but we'll see.
Yeah, I want to see fans in the stands. You don't have to put 20,000 people into the seats. It would be nice, but that's not what I'm talking about. These teams should be able to get across the border and function normally. I want to see a normal functioning playoff, even though this playoff to come is anything but normal. It all remains to be seen. In the now, though, Mike, the Leafs have done really well through the halfway point of the season. It's onto a 3-game set with Winnipeg. You got to get 3 points out of this thing at minimum. Have a good one, my friend.